So now let me show you how to install the Drill Fluted Cylinder into the SSG10. Same process for the A1 and the A2, so let's get started. First of all, unbox it. Just get rid of the bubble wrap. Here we'll find a little protection plug. You can pull it out. It makes sure that this front edge doesn't get bent. You can use this plug later for storing your original cylinder, so don't throw it away. Now take out the magazine of your gun. Make sure that it's not cocked. Put it on fire. Fire. Everything's safe. Put the gun on safe. And now turn it around. Okay, now you lose the 3 screws on the stock. This is the same for the A1 and the A2. However, here will be a Phillips on the trigger guard and not an Allen key on the A1. In order to separate the 2 parts, you take your thumb, put it inside the mag well, press on it, and now you lift with your hand on the stock. Apply some force, and then the parts will come apart. Here, take off the trigger guard as well, so it's 1 unit, and put it aside. Now you take a Phillips screwdriver, and you remove the trigger box. Those 2 screws are Loctited, so they might be a little bit hard to take off. Just apply enough force to unscrew them. Take off the trigger box. And now you can pull out the cylinder, just like that. In order to access the internals of the cylinder, you first need to use needle nose pliers, put them into these holes, and now you can unscrew it counterclockwise. Just like that. Now you can use your hands. Here, make sure that now when you undo it, you know there's some spring force inside. Make sure that it doesn't shoot out. Now take out the piston, take out the spring, and also take out the spring guide. Now you turn the cylinder around and you take again an Allen key, the right one, and you unscrew it. By the way, all those Allen keys are metric, don't use imperial ones, otherwise you will break the screws. Unscrew it. Here you might need some force again because we screw glued it in place. Take out the screw. Now take out this part, lift the cylinder up because there's a little metal part and a spring inside, you don't want to lose them. And now I can take off the bolt handle. Put the cylinder aside. I recommend you to put this plug here in to make sure that everything is protected. And now you can put it back into the packaging of the Drill Fluted one if you want. Store it somewhere. It's a really nice cylinder, don't throw it away. Now comes your Drill Fluted cylinder in place. Before you install any parts, I recommend you to do proper lubrication. That's actually not just recommended, that's a must, because otherwise your rifle will not function properly. Therefore, you can use the Knowledge Maintenance Kit, but if you have mech oil and also silicone lube or silicone grease, this will also work as well. First of all, I take the silicone oil SICK, this one right here, and you apply some here, and I'm really talking, you know, just some, not too much. You apply it here on the inside, just a little bit, you know, just make 1 circle of silicone lube. Now you take the piston and you put it the wrong way in there in order to spread the silicone all the way down the cylinder. You can now take a screwdriver and just, you know, move it down and move it out again. Now the entire cylinder is coated in a thin silicone layer, which means that your piston will be nicely lubricated. Now you can take the mech oil. That's this one right here. It's for metal to metal frictions. So you can apply it here. You know, just put some there and wipe it around with your fingers, that it's nicely and evenly spread, that this part is not too dry. Now you can put back on your bolt handle. Here you have 2 little grooves, so those 2 little holes, and this block. This faces the back of the cylinder. So you put it on there. Now you take your end cap. Here make sure that the bolt handle, you know, when the cylinder is facing you, the bolt handle looks to the right or, you know, somewhere in this position, just not like this or like that, because otherwise you cannot assemble it. So it should be in a natural position. And then you attach this block right here. Again, in case if those parts here fell out, there's a little spring inside. Put this one in first. And then you have this little steel stud, the skinny end goes in first. And now you want to make sure that this block here aligns with this slot. So you put it on there, just like that. And now you put it aside, because the next step is putting this onto your screwdriver and applying some medium strength screw glue onto the screw. You gotta do that because otherwise your bolt handle or the end cap here will come loose, and this can be very unpleasant during a game. Any medium strength screw glue will do it. Don't use the strong one, don't use the weak one. The medium strength one is the right one. You can use one from any hardware store, or you just use the one included in the Norwich maintenance kit. Press the end cap onto the bolt handle. Make sure that this gap is closed. You can wiggle the bolt handle a little bit to make sure that it clicks in place. And then you put the screw in. Now torque it properly, give it some force. You can take some, and now you can put back in the cylinder internals. First of all, spring guide. Spring comes next in case if it's cut. The cut end must always face the piston end. So put it onto the spring guide. Here really make sure that it's on the spring guide, because when you look here, I can also do it wrong, and I can put it to the side of the spring guide, and then your rifle will not function. It must be just like this on the spring guide. Then next comes the piston. Just slide it inside, give it a good press, and then put on the cylinder head. Now this needs some practice if you've never done this, because you have to apply force, you have to put it straight, and now you have to turn. And here you really have to make sure that the cylinder head is not canted in any way, because this can damage your thread. So make sure that it's straight, and then twist it on. If you don't have the force to do this, not the strength to do this, you can also use pliers. Let me show it to you again. You can use the pliers, press the force equally. Make sure that you're in control. Maybe you can also use two people. One guy holds the cylinder, one guy holds the pliers, and thread it on there evenly. Make sure that it's straight so nothing breaks. Before you close it completely, if you want, you can also put some thick silicone oil here onto this O-ring to make sure that it stays lubricated all the way around. There we go. And now you can close it up. Here, please don't just close it with your bare hands, because you should really torque this, Here, grab the bolt handle and apply some force onto it, that it doesn't come loose. Okay, here we go. This is your entire assembled cylinder set. Now with the grooved cylinder, you can now slide it back into the receiver. You don't have to oil it on the outside. I actually don't recommend it, because the oil will collect dirt, and then you will have a worse friction than if it's just dry. There's plastic glide rings in there anyway, so you don't need any oil on it. Here, now you have to make sure that this slot is in line with the slot here. So first flip your bolt handle down, then slide it in nicely. Make sure that it finds the way into the hop-up chamber. You can also use some force, and now this goes back on. Here you need screw glue again. Don't skip the screw glue here, because otherwise your trigger box can fall off during the game, and you want to avoid it at all costs. Put the screws in first, and then you apply the screw glue. Again, medium strength screw glue. Don't use the high strength one, don't use the weak one, use the medium one. Again, included in the Norwich maintenance kit. Put it on there, just a drop. Now you can put the trigger box back on. You can also apply some force, put it in. Sometimes you have to move the trigger box a little bit forward, just give it a slight press so it clicks into place. There should be no gap anymore here, then it's right. And now I can use the Phillips again to screw it back together. Give it a nice torque, just with 3 fingers again, not more than that, not that you break the screws. Same here, 3 fingers, and the screw glue will do the rest. Now your cylinder is in there, you can test it, pull it back, does it lock in place, does everything work? If it doesn't, just watch it again, maybe you did something wrong, maybe the spring is not on the spring guide, or something else was done wrong. And there we go. Okay, now we can put the stock back onto the upper. Here you have to take care that you use the right screws for the right holes. Here in the A2 you have 3 different screw lengths. You have the very long one, the medium long one, and the short one. That's similar on the A1. On the A1 this one will be a Phillips head. So here the super long one or the Phillips head goes into the trigger guard, the middle length one goes into the middle, and the short one here goes towards the end. Never put the long one into this hole, because otherwise you will force the screw into this hole here onto the cylinder, and this will screw up your entire cylinder assembly, and you want to avoid that at all costs. Put it back together, just like that. Here you sometimes need to wiggle a little bit, you have to find the right position, and in many cases you have to pull on the outer barrel, you have to pull towards the front and click it in place. So pulling it, pushing it, play a little bit with it until it clicks in place properly. And now you can tighten the screws again with the bigger Allen key here. Again, for tightening, just 3 fingers, not more. Otherwise you can or might strip the screws. Same here, and then the same here on the back. For these screws you don't need screw glue, they will not come loose. Here we go, that's your new cylinder, the grooved one. Looks super neat, super unique. Just completes the whole tactical look of this rifle. Now it's in there and you can have fun with it.